Have you guys seen Chain of Command Part 2? Chain of Command Part 2, if you've seen it, is a Star Trek episode, and the bad guy is an incredibly intimidating guy who ends up torturing Captain Picard. That actor voiced John Irenicus in Baldur's Gate 2. So if you go back and play if you've seen Star Trek Chain of Command, and you go back and you play Baldur's Gate 2, as soon as the game starts and you hear, "Ah, the child of Baal has awoken. It is time for more experiments." That's him. Measure of a Man is also iconic. Chain of Command, Measure of a Man, and When the Walls Fell. God. This is why I love old Star Trek, man. It was basically about saying, hey, we're going to put you in positions that make you question your humanity, and you survive it by embracing your humanity, but also combining it and becoming something better, becoming something bigger. That's what I think I like. Old Star Trek wasn't about denying what makes you human, but about taking what makes you human and combining it in a way that respectfully embraces what the other kind of cultures and societies that it interacted with made them uniquely not human. It's why I love the fact that Q was so chaotically unknowable. I think that Captain Kirk is the captain that you want to read stories about, but Captain Picard is who you want to serve under. You know, Q was only in like 16 episodes. He wasn't in a lot. The character of Q was not like a main dude. He was in, the important episodes, but he wasn't in a lot. Did I ever play Halo 1? I did. How the one-to-one designs after the first Alien movie ships. Oh, from the... Yeah, strange idea. Do you think most sci-fi these days copies alien looks instead of doing something new? I think sci-fi these days copy human designs. I'm not saying that sci-fi today sucks. It doesn't. There's a lot of really cool sci-fi coming out. One of my favorite recent sci-fi films, I know it's not super new, was... it was a Tom Cruise film called Edge of Tomorrow that got renamed to Live, Die, Repeat. Sometimes it's nice for an alien design... We're talking about sci-fi stuff now. One of the most important things that I think an alien design has to have is a level of unknowability. It's going to sound silly. Something where you just, as a human, don't get it. You just don't understand it. And the reason I like aliens with stuff like this is because when you look at it, you say, okay, as humans, we try to connect everything we know to a frame of reference that we understand. And if you can do that, it actually removes a level of fear. Because you're saying, okay, I don't understand you, but I do understand this, and I'm going to imprint you onto this. So to me, one of the best and most interesting alien races is when an alien race does something that is not human. And that's why I like the Borg in Star Trek before they had a queen. I don't like the Borg queen. And the reason that I don't like the Borg queen is because I think it allows me to imprint a level of human hierarchical understanding on a creature that is not meant to have that. They were scarier when they were more unknowable. I mean, you can disagree with me, that's fine. I think some of the most interesting and scary aliens are literally the ones that we just straight up don't understand and can't understand because we can't imprint a level of understanding that we have onto them. But what do you guys think? Yeah, the Borg Queen was the branch between human connection and the Borg, whereas I think that they were actually much, much scarier when they didn't have a level of connection. It's why I like Lovecraftian cosmic horror. You can't know it. By its very nature, it is unknowable. And I think that makes it way scarier. You know, it's because of budget constraints. The aliens are all clearly humanoid. Yes, absolutely. It's why I think that the Q was so interesting. There is an element of not knowing something isn't lack of something. This is a storytelling technique that people don't understand. Not having the information is actually sometimes part of the storytelling process. Having that unknown, having that I'm not sure, having that I don't know where it came from, I don't know where it's going to, that is an element of storytelling. And sometimes I feel that companies, writers in general, they feel the need to explain everything. They're like, hey, we've got a mystery set up. It's absolutely important that we explain it. No, actually, it isn't. Sometimes the unknown is part of the story. We do not need to know where this came from. We do not need to know where it's going to. We don't need to know its purpose. We just need to know how we deal with it at some point. But what companies and corporations and kind of writers do who aren't writing for the story specifically is they will say, hey, the audience are interested in this. Yeah, you know why they're interested in it? Because they don't have answers. And they're like, well, we should give them some answers. You don't need to. You straight up do not need to. Because if they had answers, they wouldn't care. The Reavers in Firefly were scary because we didn't know anything about them. Spacemen gone mad. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mind the film Serenity. It's fine. But I don't think that, oh, it was a government experiment gone wrong, hits the same as there are just people in space who are crazy and we've got to avoid them. There was a film? Exactly. Random fact, actually. So, Joss Whedon lost the rights to Firefly after the first season had finished. And so the film's Serenity technically isn't a Firefly sequel. It is, but legally it isn't. Because if you go... So, Serenity is the film that Joss made in order to wrap up the Firefly storyline. But if you go and watch Serenity, they never use the word Firefly. They never reference the ship as a Firefly-class ship. They never reference any of the events of the TV show. And if you read the back of the DVD box, they don't reference that it's a Firefly ship. They don't reference it's a film to that TV show. They don't do any of that. In fact, if you watch the film Serenity, the opening scene of that film is the camera panning along inside the ship. And there are some crates in the ship stacked up as cargo. And on the side of these crates is printed, "Do not destroy, do not destroy, do not destroy." That is actually a joke because after Firefly Season 1 finished, they destroyed the set. And in order to make the film Serenity, they had to rebuild the set. So as a bit of a kind of in-joke, they made sure to paint "Do not destroy" on any important part of the set. WTF is Firefly, one of the best single-season TV shows ever made. Phenomenally good TV show. Is it on Netflix? I don't know. It's only, I want to say, like 12 episodes. Did Joss have to sign away the rights? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, but the Firefly film Serenity, when it came out, they didn't even advertise that it was a Firefly film. It's on Disney Plus, gotcha. Worth it on Disney Plus. TV show, excellent. There are some enemies in the TV show, some super creepy guys called Reapers, and... Oh, Reavers, sorry, Reapers is Mass Effect. And Reavers they're scary. They're terrifying things. Genuinely quite scary things. You would argue about the Lovecraftian unknowable stuff. It's sometimes about the inability to comprehend what is known. Imagine you say you're a singular ant, and there's an ant you like, so you pray hard to a human that decide to trash the entire ant hive, except you. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I think that it is the inability to comprehend. There was a sentence Lovecraft had that was something like, we should consider it a mercy that the human brain is unable to comprehend itself. And I think the idea behind that was the human brain is actually exposed to so much stimuli every second, every nanosecond, that if we were aware of all of it, we would go mad. So this is getting into kind of physiological stuff. And people say there are 3 types of memory. There's long-term, short-term, and what people call short-term sensory. Now, long-term memory, studies have been done. Long-term memory doesn't seem to have a limit. Some people remember a huge amount of stuff, some people don't remember almost anything. Short-term memory seems to be able to hold between 5 and 9 things in it that you can then recall. But short-term sensory is actually processing thousands of input every second and then working out which inputs are worth keeping. So the feeling of all of your clothing on your skin is being input to your brain. That's happening. But your brain is simply not storing those feelings in short-term memory or long-term memory. There is a huge amount of stimuli. Every single thing that you're seeing and hearing and feeling and thinking, everything that you are experiencing at any given moment is being processed, but it's not being kind of stored, if you will. And so what Lovecraft was getting at was, imagine what would happen if you could feel the position of all of your organs in your stomach. Imagine what would happen if you could feel the physical movement of an atom or a neuron as it goes through the paths in your brain. That would be... you'd go insane. Imagine if you could feel the sensation of your skin as your hair grows through it. That would drive a man mad. And that's what the idea of it is a mercy that the human brain is unable to comprehend itself means. Imagine if you could feel food moving through your intestines all the time. The constant flow of blood through your body. The mites that live on your eyelashes. That would be terrifying. As a human, you would simply not have the capacity to deal with processing that amount of information. And when he said it's a mercy the brain can't comprehend itself, that's what it means. You actually always see your nose, you just blank it out. That's a great way of putting it. You are always able to look down, cross your eyes, and see your nose, but your brain simply does not process that as an image. Some people are going to say, oh, but I always see it there. It's like that kind of ghost image just below, but you don't think about it or process it. There is a spot in your eye that you cannot see because it's where your optical nerve connects, but your brain fills in the image. I mean, if you close one of your eyes, you will be able to see your nose to the bottom left or the bottom right of your vision, and you realize it takes up quite a lot. Then you open it and it goes away. You have a blind spot in your eyes because of your optical nerve, but your brain just fills it in, which I think is fantastic. Fascinating stuff. So imagine if you had to process all of this all the time, forever. That would drive a man mad. How did we get here? We were talking about something before this. I completely forgot what it is. Movies. That was the one. We were talking about movies. We were talking about the unknowable. That was it. Alien. The alien ideals of the unknown. So Lovecraft's idea is that you effectively go mad if you were able to process the amount of information you have to process. You talk about short and long-term memory. That was it. How do you explain me knowing all the Lord of the Rings extended lines? Autism. It's a pretty fair explanation straight away. What I love is when old people are like, oh, we didn't have autism back in my day. Now let me show you my model train set that's modeled exactly like it was on July 16th, 1972, which was a Tuesday and it was raining. And also let me show you my stamp collection. And I'm like, haha, I think you might be in for a bit of a shock when I tell you something. Love that. They do know the exact date and whether that's true. I mean, it was a thing. People just didn't understand it. Absolutely.